Short news, long news, and wow news right here, right now. Greetings Rommies and welcome to Rum, the channel sharing the joy of sim racing, and to a regular news roundup, our weekly sim racing news. Welcome to the channel, thanks for stopping by. My name is Serta and I will be your host for this video, with a couple of segments hosted by our very own Ike Sky. If you have any news for us, send us a mail to news@rumrum.net. It never fails. We skip 1 week of news because we only had 2 small segments, and the week after that it becomes this mega video we ourselves need time to make sense of. But that's the nature of news, I guess. Our very short news section alone is teeming with news. Oh, and the newest WRC game will be called, drumroll, WRC 23. Oh yay, how original. And we found ourselves with the bombshell of the Straight4/Reiza news on Friday, which is the culmination of many small pieces of information we got here and there. So we'll speculate a bit about what it all could mean. Apart from news, don't miss our ASRC race broadcasts. Today, the NASCAR Stock Car Series racing in Las Vegas. Tomorrow, the Clio Russell Cup racing on Silverstone National. Both broadcasts start at 2100 CET.
BeamNG is added again, but mercifully it's not the usual overhaul we're used to from them. New configurations for a number of wheels and pedals have been added, as well as adapting the Moser Universal hub controls for gear shifting. If you know, you know. Make sure you've updated the hub to at least version 1.2.1.1 for this functionality. The game has fixed leaks, no, I'm not kidding, on the Civetta Scintilla, Chariot FCV, FPU Hydra, Gavil Roma, and the Hirochi SBR. There have been a couple of terrain and interactable object fixes on East and West Coast USA and Italy. The nitrous oxide wasn't being deployed correctly when it was triggered manually. This has now been fixed. An odd fix was cars with dual clutch transmissions were not displaying Park, one of the selectable driving modes, when the player selected it. This meant that it would show either neutral or reverse until the player selected a recognised driving mode. Thankfully, this is no longer an issue. As far as the UI is concerned, the key bindings menu occasionally showed the delete button grayed out, which has now been fixed. AI traffic has been updated as it was making too many U-turns. There have been multiple fixes to the covert audio, and a change to the in-game EQ to cut down on the distortion effect in cabin view, as well as fixing the transmission whine not being transferred to the cabin correctly. Lastly, there was a miscellaneous issue with motion blur on vehicle props, and when pressing F8 there was occasionally an incorrect tilt. Both of these have been fixed. Remember when we told you about SCS visiting manufacturers all over Europe and getting readings, data, audio samples? Well, we're finally seeing the fruits of their labour. The 3rd generation MAN TG/TGX has been added to the sim, with all of the customizations you would expect, cosmetic additions to the roof, front, bumper, dash, as well as 19 official paint jobs. Engine options are the usual Euro 6 affair, and interestingly, 7 varieties of seat upholstery are available now. There's also a new camera system called MAN OptiView, which embeds monitors in the A-pillars and increases the effective viewing angles for the driver. For safety! Also, they look like Shrek ears. Go and check them out, if MAN are your truck of choice. If not, hopefully there will be some more collaboration between SCS and truck manufacturers to bring this level of detail to the other trucks in the game. Bargains by the dozen on Steam. EA is having a mega sale. Earlier in the week, and posted on our Discord, hint hint, there was a racing mega pack available. 5 titles for £18 or €25. That's gone now, you missed it. But the deals are coming thick and fast, and the racing games of the collection are still reduced, just not as much as in the Mega Pack. Dirt Rally 2 currently has the Deluxe 2.0 pack 50% off, which includes the Colin McRae DLC, locations in Scotland, 2 of Colin's historical cars recreated in loving detail in the physics engine that remains one of the best for off-roading. Off by 75% to €9.99 USD, is also the Game of the Year edition, which brings almost all DLCs with it, which we recommend over all the others if you don't already have Dirt Rally 2. Also, many of the location DLCs were free for a short while. This could be hinting at a soon-to-be-removed title from the stores, so get it while you can.
Seemingly not knowing where to expand next, SnowRunner will be coming to Mac in a not nearly defined later this year, and players on Mac will be able to crossplay with players on consoles and PCs. Whenever it comes out, price will be €30 USD on the Mac App Store, Steam and the Epic Game Stores, and the DLCs will be sold separately. For all Mac users out there, it's really worth it, and it will make you lose a lot of time. Check a review in the link up there. Console dirt racing game World of Outlaws will receive a 2023 season update this summer with new drivers, tracks, series and paint schemes you will have to pay extra. Continuing with console support, a Switch version of the game will be released for the Switch in the fall, which will include the 2023 content. Hot on the heels of the release of the Fanatec Gran Turismo DD Pro system, Fanatec have become official steering wheel partner of the Gran Turismo World Series, which means racers will be forced to use enjoy Fanatec hardware for the live events of the GT World Series, the World Series Showdown 2023 in August and World Finals 2023 in December. Furthermore, 2018 GT World Series winner and motorsports driver Igor Omura Fraga is going to be directly sponsored by Fanatec. While a small footnote, this is another step towards blurring the lines between sim racing and real-world racing, and as sim racers we are all for that line becoming more and more fuzzy. If you didn't listen to our most recent Romcoms, our monthly podcast where we discuss the month's sim racing news, you might have missed the recent roadmap from Race Room. Well, we got the first release for Q2, the BMW M4 GT3. Much like the other M4 GT3s, it looks like a beaver, will be great to drive, and unlike Assetto Corsa Competizione, you can now ape the real-life cars this weekend and run on the Nordschleife. If you're playing Race Room, this car is going to be a must-buy for competitive GT racing. Over there at Reddit, we got a whiff of some screenshots and some 10 years information about F1 Manager 23, seemingly based on an article that, as it was taken offline the next day, seems to have been published too soon erroneously. In any case, the Redditor who published the images talked about reading that the new game would have sprint races and the Las Vegas track, which is to be expected in a game using F1 and 23 in their name now, isn't it? Also, there may be a new game mode which lets you rewrite infamous moments of the 2023 season. Maybe something like bringing you a summary of what has happened until a certain moment in the race, and then lets you remake decisions to change the outcome for your team. Which won't be very dramatic, as we all know that F1 is a sport of cars running in circles until Red Bull wins yet again. Normally with Verstappen being shoehorned into the first place by any means necessary. But I digress. Together with the information of the couple of new things we just mentioned, we also got 4 screenshots that appear to come from the newest version of the game. Comparing those to the 2022 version, we only see a couple of new things like the driver confidence, which is new and may be a result of adding the track knowledge and the knowledge of the new car parts the 22 version of the game brought with it, or it may be substituting those two altogether. And the rest of the screenshots don't show anything really revolutionary. Certainly not in the design page, and we didn't see anything else that has to do with, F1 management. Especially nothing that could not have been solved with an update or a DLC and an update. we suppose will therefore be expected to pay full price for something that at most will be worth half the price, or even only the standard price of a DLC. It's not as if Frontier had to work very hard, judging by this leak.
Studio 397 have clearly been paying attention to BeamNG's updates, or at least our mild jesting about it, and have decided to get in on the game with their hotfix this week. Starting with the things that you'll see. The Gen 3 Formula E car has a new throttle map to give more control over the throttle, especially at higher RPMs, and there's livery fixes on the Mahindra and Penske liveries. There have been fixes in the HUD, with the message center and icons rendering incorrectly when running the game at a non-native resolution, the track limits overlay being in the same place as the flag icons on the default HUD, and the boost map now shows correctly in the cockpit display. There have been some mod dev changes in UI, as well as the HUD mass files being decrypted, useful for HUD modders. Next, under the hood of the sim. The AI has had a lot of work done, including fixing random slowdowns, braking when crossing the start-finish line under yellow, obstacle avoidance, and hopefully safer rejoins when they crash by staying off the racing line. When lining up on some tracks, the AI would have issues getting into their box, which should now have been fixed, and amongst other things, the time of day will no longer cause the AI to slow down, specifically nighttime. As far as physics is concerned, some electric cars had mismatched energy consumption and power output, which has been fixed. Battery data is now exported to external tools, and there's an amendment to a fun bug/feature where electric vehicles would shift to neutral when auto shifting is on and you're braking. As far as more general fixes go, there's some crashes that have been fixed, namely by corrupted shader compiles, changing resolutions, and when an object with no material specified was required to cast a shadow. There have also been crashes caused by the way trackside cameras were being enabled and disabled, which has been fixed. Finally, of all the notable changes, the recently added track limit system wasn't allowing time for a driver to return any gained positions while off track, and penalising as though they'd made no attempt. This is no longer the case, and you will be given time to give back places gained through an off-track incident before the game penalises you.
Rennsport, the sim racing developer who is neither early nor late but arrives precisely when they mean to, has announced the launch of their closed beta coming this summer. With no numbers given on how many will be invited, we've been once told 50% of the keys will be handed out in the order when people applied, and the other 50% will be handed out randomly to those who have signed up. So if you're one of the lucky ones, get on the newest sim to market and let us know what you think. Also, a curious pointer from their Instagram post, looks like development goes on and a new car may be coming to the sim that isn't a GT3 car. Our thoughts are that it's the Dallara LMP2 car, much like iRacing. Not the prettiest, but if Rennsport are using the same data as iRacing, that gives hope for a high quality, engaging prototype outside of iRacing. Time will tell. Also, we've been all invited to the Summer Summit on the 3rd and 4th of June. And we mean all. If you enter a special code you can get by checking their Discord, you will get your ticket for free. Just go to the website, link is in the description of this video, enter the code and start packing. Not much time left until June, and unluckily they have not published any kind of timing about what's gonna happen when. Oh, and finding any kind of lodging in Munich will be extremely difficult on that weekend, which is the last of the Whitsun holiday in Germany, where many people take a whole week to visit other places. For example, the wonderful city of Munich, where the summit takes place. Don't know what Rennsport were thinking here. And last but not least, you'll find 2 QR codes on the Rennsport website, which lead to their app, either for Android systems or for iOS systems. There you can set up a Rennsport account, give yourself a car, a virtual one of course, and check the newest news on Rennsport. For now, there's not much else you can do, and we generally despise these mixed medium engagement exercises when there's no real need for it. But it seems this will be the way to do things on your account when you're away from your computer, at least by the looks of it. If you would like to support our channel, which we sure wish you would, and can afford it, you can do so by becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/rumrum. Amongst other perks, becoming a patron will fix your name for posterity like this, but you'll also get to know what we plan and what we're doing, and will be able to take part in our decisions. So a big thank you to our patrons. If you're feeling friendly, please consider subscribing. On Friday evening, we found ourselves in front of this bombshell press release coming from Ian Bell's company Straight4, which was promptly retweeted by Reiza, giving it official confirmation by the other mentioned party. What it says is that Reiza and Straight4, Ian Bell's new company, have entered a quote-unquote strategic partnership with no specific details given as to what exactly the partnership consists of. While we've tried to find out more through our official and unofficial contacts at Reiza, no details have been forthcoming until now. We knew Ian and Renato had been in close contact in the last months, Renato even visiting Ian in person. And it was clear that there was not only a personal bond between the two, but also something else. This is confirmation of our suspicions. For sure, the contact existed already before this visit, as SMS licensed the code in full to Reiza shortly before being bought up by Codemasters, who then were bought up by EA, landing Ian in the hell he had tried to escape by starting Slightly Mad Studios. And he jumped ship as soon as he was allowed to, as was to be expected. We all know Reiza's developers have dug through the madness engine of Project Cars and Project Cars 2, uncovering some gems that lay dormant in the code and expanding the code so that Automobilista 2 has become the true Project Cars 3, unlike the abomination some say has been published by Codemasters and we refuse to acknowledge. And some of Ian Bell's screenshots regarding whatever sim Straight4 are working on were clearly based on Automobilista 2, the Reiza logo quite prominent in the cars that could be seen. All this is known information. Facts. A realm I'm abandoning to start thinking about what it all could mean. See, I'm pretty sure, but will never be able to prove it by myself, that Ian Bell knew SMS was going to be sold to Codemasters latest when he licensed the code of the Madness engine to Reiza. Possibly even when approached by Reiza in the first place. He wanted to set the code free and knew the tinkering spirit within the group of former mod makers Reiza would propel the Madness engine forward. We know now this is exactly what Reiza did. Now things come full circle, as it seems Ian Bell is getting the code back, updated in oh so many ways. What Reiza is getting from it is not clear, as the word strategic partnership can mean everything and nothing. Straight4 has until now spoken about some kind of GTR racing sim, and the contract with the publisher Plaion indicates this sim will be released on consoles, with a press release about the partnership with Reiza mentioning a release on consoles explicitly. So while we may never see Automobilista 2 on consoles, maybe we'll see some kind of Automobilista 3 on consoles, or Project Cars 3, Automobilista 3 GTR or whatever. And the sim of the quality of Automobilista 2 on consoles would mop the floor with Assetto Corsa Competizione in an instant. We know how hungry console racers are for a real sim, and this may be it. I'd be very surprised if in this case Reiza was not getting a percentage of the earnings, and deservedly so. Another way both companies could partner would be to work together on the code, both sides profiting of any updates done and then releasing a different kind of sim from each other. Automobilista 2 or 3 for Reiza, GTR whatever for Straight4. Think about what motorsport games are trying to do with rFactor 2 and the different sims based on the rFactor 2 engine. A development already started with NASCAR 21, as awful as the end product finished up being. This was despite, not because, of the game engine. Let's not forget Straight4 has amongst other developers from Madness Times and also the main physics developer A.G. Weber in the ranks. There's a lot of knowledge of the code on both sides of the partnership. I'd therefore be surprised if tinkering with the Madness engine is not part of the partnership. In fact, reading the press release carefully, it seems Reiza and Straight4 are going to be working together on the sim coming out of the Straight4 doors. Sentences like combining our studio's talents and join forces seem to point that way. Renato has made it clear that Automobilista 2 development is not affected by this partnership at all, but this is difficult to believe if, and that's a big if, Reiza is bringing more than the gaming engine into this partnership. As always, the future will show where we were right and where wrong, but we're living in interesting times indeed.